Hello everybody, I'm Alexandre Fremiot. I'm the head of the mobility agency of the City of Paris. And first of all, I'd like to apologize for giving this speech in English, because my English is a French English. So let me talk about some actions of the Parisian plan for delivering a sustainable mobility. It's a complex combination of pushing forward green and smart mobility, developing public transport offer, and containing pollutant emission from individual cars. For the past 15 years, the City of Paris has been pursuing a proactive policy promoting soft transport modes as other cities. And this policy is founded on the redistribution of public space, reducing spaces of cars for the benefit of other users. Here are several illustrations of street or square that have been transformed in the past few years. And one of the best illustrations we have of redevelopment is the place of Place de la République, which is in 2013, which was transformed. The perimeter dedicated to pedestrian increased by 50% in this square, and uses took place. Demonstrations, it's an historical place for demonstrations, citizens' activities, terraces, etc. Also, on the right, you can see another intervention on the right bank of the river Seine, which offers the Parisian and visitor a wide range of new public spaces. This opening of the pedestrian and cycling promenade along an old route, an old motorway, allowed the development of new activities and creation of new areas to take a break and rest. How do people get around Paris? First of all, by walking. More than half of all trips in Paris are on foot. It's very important. It's good. Next, a third use public transport, metro, bus, or tramway. And lastly, just 1 out of 10 trips is by car now. So, what can we do? Since this small split is already quite admirable, Paris is focusing its goal by 2020 elsewhere. First, we'd like to turn Paris into a calm and welcoming city for everyone, particularly the elderly. We try to make public spaces even more pleasant by adding greenery, and we try to encourage citizen participation and involvement in projects. In the coming years, we want to keep drastically reducing private car use in the city. And I'll try to explain briefly the different action plans. The first ambitious action plan we have is the bicycle plan. The goal is to increase the modal share for cycling to 15% by 2020, compared to 5% now. This plan has an important budget of 150 million euro, which would allow us to double the length of cycle paths in Paris. And we also have other measures in mind, such as increasing secure on-street bicycle parking, or providing subsidies to help Parisian residents purchase electric bicycles. The principles underlying the development of the cycling network in Paris is the following. First, comfortable and protected cycle paths on major arteries, and on the secondary road network, we try to limit the speed, 30 km per hour, to allow bicycles and cars to safely share the road. Here is an example of a measure permitted by French law. It's very interesting because cyclists may go through a red light in certain types of intersections, and we are currently implementing this principle in as many places as possible. You can see the signboard on the right. You have the right to turn right at the red light. The second set of action plans, which is extremely important for us, is to reduce the speed limit to 30 km/h in all Paris neighborhoods. The important fact is that on all the one-way streets, cyclists can go against the flow of traffic in these areas. So cars necessarily have to be cautious and go slower. It's a way to calm the traffic. And the speed limits have already been reduced in half of the city now. That is all the colored areas. And our aim is to reduce the limits in all of Paris by 2020. We are also further reducing the speed limit to 20 km/h in certain streets to create areas where pedestrians, bicycles, and cars can share the road. It's, for us, an additional step towards calming the city. And another example here, I mentioned earlier, the transformation of an urban motorway running through the center of Paris into a pedestrian walkway. You can see here the banks of the river, the other side, in fact, which have been permanently closed to vehicle traffic since this summer. I'm sure that some of you perhaps have heard of the very important decision taken by our local parliament last week, and I'm very happy that we have taken this important decision. People have to understand that individual cars could not be the solution for the future of mobility. And we cannot fight against air pollution with the same amount of traffic. And we think also that we cannot wait for the next generation of diesel or gasoline engine to solve our problem. So the decision of closing this 3 kilometers motorway shapes the future of our city. Less individual cars, more pedestrians, more cyclists, and cleaner air. It's highly symbolic. Since the city is constantly shifting and evolving, depending on the time of the day or day of the week, we have put in place dynamic management of public spaces in certain neighborhoods. The idea is that public spaces in dense cities must adapt to needs and uses as much as possible. For example, the Paris braces zones are roads they are open to traffic, to vehicle traffic during the week, but only open to pedestrians on the weekend. They have become wonderful places for relaxation and shopping and leisure, which Parisians and tourists alike greatly appreciate. Paris currently has 14 of these zones. And just a few months ago, we even started closing the famous Champs-Élysées to cars one Sunday a month. Other types of events we have introduced in public spaces, Paris Plage, Paris Beach. For an entire month, the roads along the banks of the Seine are transformed into a 2-kilometer-long beach, complete with palm trees, deck chairs, and a variety of games and entertainment options. And as an example, is the last Sunday in September is our annual Car-Free Day, like in other cities. And Paris mobility policy is also focused on sharing. It's an important action for us. I think you know Velib. First was Velib, the world largest bicycle sharing network, but maybe it is no more the first now. I don't know exactly, but it's still a success, Velib. Some figures: 1,450 stations in Paris, more than 20,000 bicycles, and more than 40 million trips rentals per year, which represent a little more than one bicycle rented each second in average. Then we next came Autolib, the first fully electric point station car sharing service, and the goal of these new services is to provide new transport options that will expand the range of possible transport solutions and ultimately eliminating the need for car ownership. And now let me talk about Paris pedestrian strategy. It has two main components. First, allow pedestrians to go anywhere they want, easily and comfortably. Then ensure pedestrians enjoy the city to the fullest. Our approach to studying and designing the pedestrian strategy was co-developed with a number of stakeholders, non-profit organizations, local elected officials, users, and various technical experts. We gave ourselves time because it's around 1 year of discussion to come up with a project that everyone agreed on, all while taking a very proactive approach. The primary aim is to create continuity for pedestrians at the city level. To do this, for example, pathways need to be improved, particularly when there are large areas such as cemeteries or hospitals. Another challenge for us is to ensure continuity for pedestrians at the entrance to the city, at the border. And we also want to limit obstructions in public spaces, particularly on the pavement. Pavements are often invaded by parked motorcycles, especially in Paris, cafe terraces that spill over, and all sorts of urban furniture or signage. Even as we declutter the pavement, we need to improve pedestrian comfort by installing benches, public restrooms, and water fountains. As you can imagine, this is not a simple task because these two objectives may sometimes seem contradictory. Pedestrian safety is obviously a major challenge for us. Pedestrian crossing needs to be made safer, for example, by improving visibility, by removing car park ahead of the crossing, which can be replaced, for example, with bicycle or motorcycle parking. And while the ability to walk around is great, being able to find your way is even better. So we have created maps at the neighborhood scale with indication of walking times. These maps are posted on the back of all passenger shelters in Paris, about 2,000 shelters, and will soon be placed in front of all municipal facilities. The second challenge of the pedestrian approach is reclaiming the city. We have to design public spaces that are adapted to a number of different users. And sometimes we just need to make some spaces available so that people can transform them and change the image we had of them. We want to improve citizens' community living conditions, improve solidarity and social cohesion against isolation. For example, foster street and square appropriation by the citizens, developing public spaces of proximity, considering an entire range of stakeholders to give everyone the possibility to engage in the public space, streets, gardens, parks, access to cultural and sports spaces. We are also developing proximity services like the neighborhood caretaker program named Lulu dans ma rue, Lulu in my street, implemented on the area of Saint-Paul in the center of Paris. The objective is to connect local neighbors, people that we know and that are close, to help with daily reparation at home, home delivery, etc. And we are actually developing the living condition and the sentiment of well-being in diversifying public space functions. We saw it earlier, but this is going to become an even bigger issue in the future. Roads can be used differently at different times. Regardless of whether these changes occur on daily or weekly or even seasonal basis, we must keep adapting the city to the uses and expectations of the largest number of people. By continuing in this direction, we hope to provide Paris residents, visitors, and many tourists with a living environment that is comfortable, calm, hospitable, and attractive. So in conclusion, you can see the mayor of Paris and the vice-mayor in charge of transport using Velib. I hope that you are convinced that the Paris mobility policy encourages environmentally friendly travel and emphasizes the greenest ones. Maybe some of you know that Paris is a candidate for hosting the Olympic Games in 2024. And I'm happy to announce that Paris is also a candidate for hosting a next edition of Walk21 annual Congress, maybe in 2018. And to finish, if you have 2 more minutes, I can't help to show you a short movie on this great city of Paris. Thank you.
You're looking for someone, look down, maybe she's the best. Baby, you can always be mine, come, let's get obsessed. We're looking in the dark, cause we always meet. Been here so long in my life, like a second skin. Can't you give me a sign of your brighter side? Can't you show me the dark, cause you always like to? Can you explain what you're looking for? You're looking for something, someone more. You're always so near, we're always so far. We come from the depths where we hopeless we rise. You ran in the fever, these are so fine. You come from the fire, you're always mine. You're always so near, we're always far. You come from the spine, you're always round. Maybe you can, I like it. You're looking for, and I just need you. 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 Need your love. And I just need you. 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 And I just need you.